Chris, I want to introduce you to some friends. This is David and Marsha Wincott, Ronald and Celia Jeffries, Hiroki Tanaka, and Jessica and Friedrich Walden.
Too many names to remember, but hi.
I'm going to give you guys a simple 4-step plan to climb any rank in the game. First off, educate yourselves. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you should give yourself a baseline understanding of how you play your heroes. Now, if you're one of those people who play all the roles and all the heroes in the game and don't really specialize in anything, then maybe I need to make a step 0 and you first need to choose which role to specialize in and what 2 to 3 heroes you should play and master. I'm sure you've heard of the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. You're simply not going to learn as much by playing mystery heroes on the entire roster instead of just focusing your time on mastering a handful of heroes. In short, the heroes that you should want to master are ones that you feel fairly competent at and ones that you also find fun to play, because if you don't enjoy playing the hero, you're not going to stick with the following steps in the long run. Anyways, I assume most of my viewers have already watched the guides on their respective heroes, and if you haven't already, I've got an over 8-hour compilation of all 37 heroes, including Lifeweaver, so go give yourself a brush up on how to play your hero from both a macro and a micro perspective if you haven't already. You can just watch the first 30 or so seconds where I give a brief summary of the fundamentals of the hero. There's of course a plethora of other educational content you can watch out there, but the really key thing is to not focus too much on the theory and actually implementing what you've learned in practice. It can get really tempting to just binge watch your favorite content creator for hours on end on how to theoretically maximize your hero, but if you're in gold or platinum, that kind of stuff is useless to you.
And you're going to notice here that really the target now, anyone want to guess who the target priorities in these compositions are? You're a fan of Waco personally? How do you know about that?
I'm sure you've heard the quote by Voltaire, the best is the enemy of goods. So don't spend all your time learning and not implementing. Unless you're trying to become a coach so you don't care about climbing, you're not going to automatically get out of Platts by watching me, Spilo, or any other educational channel out there. We give you the tools to help you climb, but at the end of the day, you still have to do the following steps. The second step here is, well, to use what you've learned and play. Now that doesn't mean you autopilot and just play your games as you usually do, but you pick 1 or 2 pieces of information that you've learned from the prior stage and you actively try and implement that into your gameplay. For example, in my guides, one positional rule that I always mention are rotation options. In other words, moving to more aggressive positions in the mid-fight to get value out of your gun or out of your abilities. Especially for support players, this is something I really think all players could work on, because even the highest ranked support players that I've seen constantly stack main and healbot their tank in the mid-fight, getting mediocre value out of their utility. Okay, where do you think you can move to?
Maybe right side stairs by the mini.
Right, still healing, still healing, still healing, still healing, still healing, still healing. Now I'm gonna move and try and get a nade onto these guys, right? That could be something you could look to do right there. So you nade. Oh wait, you because you're playing main, you can't get a good nade, right? So, and by the way, you're allowed to get away with this kind of play, right? Why do you think you're allowed to get away and rotate to the right?
We have rally, and
yeah,
we won last fight.
And look at who these guys are looking at, right? Are they looking at? Are they thinking about coming through here?
No.
Oh, right.
Definitely not.
If you're a Kiriko player, this could also be implementing Awkward's 4-step rule, which is pretty easy to follow.
4-step plan, guys. Engage, close the distance, do it from an off angle, and disengage. Number 1, engaging, clicking W into the enemy team, closing the distance. Trying to do it from an off angle, and when things go bad, I disengage. 1. Things go bad, I disengage, and now I heal the Ryan because he's low.
Though, as an improvement, I would remove close the distance and add heal as the last step. If you're playing DPS, the one thing that you could focus on could be your cover usage. A lot of deaths are caused by just playing out in open space, even if you have a good angle, and that tip especially applies to Pharah and Echo players. If you're on tank, while the tips I give here are a bit more localized to each hero, it could be something as simple as focusing on bubbling aggression as Zarya, or perhaps practicing dive Reinhardt when you're not playing Brawl Mirrors. Making sure that you have a clear goal and set intention every time you play ranked means that you don't autopilot, whilst also ensuring you're not being overloaded by all the information you get in the first stage. There's of course the warm-up and general lifestyle things you need to take care of too. I recommend a 10-minute aim warm-up with one of the 2 workshop codes being Vaxter, or my personal favourite being JPYHG. The latter aim trainer is stolen from Iostux and is the first Overwatch aim trainer with progressive overloads. I also have a cool cameo in it too. The third step is to review. There's 3 options here, all of varying quality with their different pros and cons. The first is to get a free review or get free coaching from Reddit, Discord, or your friends who might want to help. The obvious pro here is that it's free. Who doesn't like free? It's also somewhat convenient. You can make a post on r/Overwatch University requesting someone to just look over your codes, or you could apply for any of the free coaching promo there too. Asking friends over Discord or posting a link in someone's Discord can also be easy too. The biggest con, of course, is that you're sacrificing the quality. Most of the coaching you'll get isn't even coaching, just pointers and tips that may not even be verified by actual legitimate coaches. There's also a higher likelihood that you'll be given bad advice too. There's also the unreliability or inconsistency of this method too. In other words, if you post on Reddit or Discord, you might not even get a response. And those 2 cons is why there's the second option of paid coaching. The biggest pro of this is obviously the quality. Either from me, Spylo, Iostux, Awkward, or any other Overwatch coach in Metify, we've helped tons and tons of players who've all verified how the service we provide is quality and legitimate. And we're consistent too, of course. Not only in our quality, but we'll help anyone of any role, of any rank, on any platform, and will typically get back to you very soon. Our advice can also be replayable if our VODs are recorded. The biggest con with paid coaching, of course, is that it's paid. And that's the elephant in the room. I myself tried to undercut my competition, but I'm in this weird spot where people who can afford my coaching, which by the way, link down below, think I should raise my prices. And then there's people who are too young or they're unemployed and haven't got the money to spend on coaching at all. Which leads me on to the third option, self-coaching or reviewing. Believe it or not, you can actually coach yourself. The pros are that it's free, consistent and reliable because you are in control. And it's also more flexible because you can decide when you want to coach yourself and how long you want to do it for. The biggest con, however, is the knowledge or focus that it requires. How do you know the errors that you're pointing out are actually impactful in your own gameplay? What if you miss stuff that's really important? There's always this self-doubt that comes with self-coaching. And then of course, there's the efforts. A big overlooked problem of self-coaching is that nobody wants to review themselves. It can hurt their ego, morale, and it's hard and boring to do, and that is why so few people try and do it. So those are the 3 options you have for the review stage. Obviously, because I like money, I'd tell you to get coaching from me, which is under half the price of the biggest competition, but realistically, I think in some ways, the third route is the best for people to do. And that nicely leads me on to the last stage, the adapt stage. This is where you take what you've learned from the review stage and you implement it into your gameplay. Similar to stage 2, you'll either have specific weaknesses you can work on and do quick check-ins, or once you've worked on those issues, you'll have to diagnose yourself again on possible errors in your gameplay to then continue the cycle. Again, if at any point you feel overwhelmed, it's best to just focus on one specific aspect of your gameplay, even if that comes at the detriment of other aspects of your gameplay. And that's it for the video. To recap, the 4 steps are to educate, play, review, and adapt. Shout out to my channel members Resolucio, Craig, Nyan Socks, and T-Meg, and until next time.